In the deep snowy heart of Montana, where nature sets its own rules, something truly unexpected was about to happen. Sarah Mitchell, a caring wildlife caretaker, had brought 2 tiny bobcat cubs to the Blue Pine Wildlife Sanctuary, Niensbo, Kan. Their future looked very uncertain until help arrived from an unlikely friend, a gentle German shepherd named Sandra. With a warm heart and kind eyes, Sandra would soon change everything, proving that sometimes love breaks all the rules. What could be more surprising than a dog stepping into a mother's role? It was one bitterly cold morning, with snow piling high and the world turning a soft white, when Sarah peered out of her office window at the sanctuary. There, cradling a hot cup of coffee, she watched the weak light of dawn fight through thick clouds. For 58 years, Sarah had given her heart to wildlife care. Little did she know that today would challenge everything she believed about the bonds shared by different creatures. The Sanctuary, a project that began in an old barn and grew into a 40-acre haven nestled at Montana's mountain foothills, was a living proof of Sarah's dedication. Say, its timber and stone main building held modern medical gear, and specialized pens dotted the grounds, each built to give a second chance to different animals. Could a day like any other hide such a life-changing secret? The day's routine soon turned urgent. While Sarah made her rounds, checking on injured eagles, a recovering wolf, and other small animals, an anxious call came in from Dave Thompson, a seasoned ranger from Glacier National Park. His voice trembled with urgency over the crackling phone line, describing an incident that could shatter lives. Sarah, you need to come now. I've found something really bad, he said, his words nearly swallowed by the howling winter wind. Without a pause, Sarah grabbed her emergency kit, a red duffel bag filled with essentials like feeding tubs and thermal blankets, and set off on a treacherous drive over snowdrifts and icy roads. The temperature was biting, and every mile seemed to echo the urgency of the rescue. But what awaited her at the end of that long drive? Arriving at the scene, Sarah's heart pounded as she saw the brutal evidence of poaching. A lifeless adult bobcat lay on the snow with a cruel metal trap clamped around one leg. Not far from this sorrow beneath a fallen log, she discovered 2 tiny forms, bobcat cubs no more than 3 weeks old. Their delicate bodies were chilled to the bone, and it was clear their mother had tried desperately to return to them before the trap had robbed her life. Dave explained, his voice thick with grief, that the mother had been dragged along for nearly a mile by the trap, leaving behind these fragile souls. Could these young lives survive without the care they needed? With gentle determination, Sarah carefully lifted the weak cubs and placed them in a portable incubator inside her vehicle. The drive back to the sanctuary was a quiet vigil of worry, with Sarah glancing repeatedly in the rearview mirror, watching as the incubator slowly warmed the tiny bodies. Even as the incubator worked its magic, Sarah knew that these cubs, especially the little girl they later called Zuri, needed more than just warmth. They needed the kind of care that only a loving, nurturing presence could provide. Meanwhile, radio chatter revealed another trap found not far away, a grim sign that poachers were taking advantage of the weather and isolation. How would this tragedy change the way the community looked after their wildlife? At the sanctuary, Dr. James Cooper, a trusted veterinarian known for his expertise with wildcats, examined the cubs. He was cautiously hopeful about the boy cub, Leo, but the news for Zuri was much bleaker. Her body was dangerously cold, and her tiny frame showed signs of life slipping away. The next 24 hours were filled with tense moments as doctors and caretakers monitored her in a specially designed intensive care room. With each passing hour, the air was thick with both hope and worry. Could a little spark of life, such hardship. In a twist that seemed to rewrite nature's rules, Sarah remembered Sandra, the German shepherd who had joined the sanctuary 3 years ago. Sandra had arrived with a heartbreaking past when her family had been forced to let her go because of a serious family illness. Yet, from the very start, it was clear that Sandra held a special calm around injured animals. Despite initial doubts from some staff, including Dr. Cooper, Sarah felt deep in her heart that Sandra might be the answer for the cubs. Would a dog known more for her playful loyalty than for caring for wild creatures be the mother these bobcat cubs so desperately needed? A careful plan was set in motion. In a quiet nursery building, outfitted with cameras and observation windows, Sandra was gently introduced to the little ones. At first, she studied them with a calm, steady look that spoke louder than words. Then, something magical happened. She began to clean and nudge them gently, her movements soft and full of care. In a way no one expected, her natural kindness stirred a change in Zuri. The little girl's eyes showed new interest in feeding, and slowly the cubs began to wake up to life under Sandra's watchful love. Could this unexpected bond be the miracle they so needed? Over the next few weeks, Sandra's care transformed the fragile cubs. Leo grew stronger and began to explore with playful energy, while Ziri, once a nearly lost soul, became more lively and responsive. The Sanctuary's team closely monitored every step of their recovery to make sure the cubs still held on to the wild traits they needed for survival later on. This unusual family story soon spread through the wildlife care community, with researchers and scientists eager to observe this rare cross-species bond. As Dr. Elena Martinez from the local university noted, the cubs were showing all the natural instincts of wild bobcats, all learned amazingly under the guidance of a devoted dog. How could such a gentle creature do what nature had not planned for her? But even as the cubs began to show signs of normal behavior, stalking toys like pretend birds and pouncing as if chasing real prey, the story took another heart-wrenching turn. In late spring, as the cubs neared the beginning of their independent lives, Sandra suddenly fell ill. What started as a bit of tiredness soon turned into a serious case of advanced lymphoma, a silent enemy that had been hiding from everyone at first. The decision to start chemotherapy was agonizing. It meant that Sandra, the very soul who had nurtured Leo and Zuri, would be separated from them for long stretches. The Sanctuary staff did everything they could to support her and comfort the cubs, who missed her presence deeply. Could love really endure such painful separations? Slowly but surely, Sandra's treatment began to work. Though her fur lost some of its luster and her frame grew thinner, the gentle spark in her eyes remained unchanged. As she began to recover, Sandra was allowed to spend short, precious moments with the cubs. Over time, as Leo and Zuri flourished into young bobcats, the Sanctuary made the difficult decision to prepare them for their next big step. A gradual return to the wild. They were moved to a large outdoor enclosure at a special release site in the Cabinet Mountains, a place known for its healthy bobcat population and abundant prey. Did nature now have its way? Or would this family hold on just a little longer? At this release site, Sandra was given a cozy spot near the cubs' new pen. Though her role was slowly shifting from close-up caregiver to a distant guardian, her calm presence reassured the young bobcats as they began to learn how to hunt and survive in a setting that mimicked the real world. The enclosure had everything from rocky patches to small meadows that allowed the cubs to develop their natural skills in a safe and controlled way. Watching from a corner, Sandra helped them grow more confident each day, even as she quietly reminded the staff if anything seemed off. The daily routine here was full of tender moments and small triumphs that left everyone wondering, would these wild kittens soon claim their rightful place back in nature? After 3 weeks in the mountains, it was time for Sandra's return to the Sanctuary. The goodbye was filled with quiet tears and heavy hearts, as each cub got a final, lingering moment with their unlikely mother before following Sarah back to the transport vehicle. Over the following months, biologists kept a close eye on Leo and Ziri, with cameras and regular checkups. They started hunting small prey, like mice and rabbits on their own, clear signs that their unique upbringing had prepared them well for the life ahead. How could such a strange beginning lead to such a natural future? 6 months later, when the young bobcats seemed ready for their final step into the wild, the decision was made to let them go without fanfare. The release was simple. The gate was left open, and the cubs left on their own terms. They lingered by the enclosure for a few days, slowly expanding their territory until they finally vanished into the vast Montana wilderness. It was a poignant farewell that left the Sanctuary staff and visitors with a deep sense of both loss and hope. Might nature find a way to honor this rare bond even beyond parting? Back at the Sanctuary, Sandra's health kept improving, defying doctors' initial fears. Her remarkable comeback, credited to both skilled care and the deep purpose she found in nurturing those cubs, soon became the spark for a new program. Over the next 3 years, the success of Leo and Zuri led to what became known as the Sandra Protocol at Blue Pine Wildlife Sanctuary. Oh, and this special program, which carefully looks for dogs with gentle traits to help orphaned wild animals, has saved countless lives. Even as the extraordinary tale of a dog raising 2 bobcat cubs amazed everyone, the program continued to inspire new ways of caring for orphaned creatures. For orphaned creatures, can a simple act of love really change the world for so many animals? Then, 5 years after the Cubs' release, another stirring moment brought all the chapters of this tale together. During a documentary shoot at the sanctuary, Sarah, now in her later years, walked along the property when 2 adult bobcats, 1 male and 1 female, stepped out of the underbrush. The female bobcat, whom Sarah felt was Siri, came a few steps closer to sniff the air. At that very moment, Sandra, who had been walking calmly beside Sarah, sat down, ears alert yet calm. In a quiet exchange of recognition, the bobcat and the dog shared a look that conveyed unspoken memories. Then, as silently as they appeared, the bobcats melted back into the forest. Hey, what did that moment mean for the legacy of this unusual family? The story of Sandra, Leo and Zuri grew into more than just a rescue tale. It became a living lesson on how love and care can bridge even the wildest divides. Sandra lived a full life until the age of 14, spending her final years as a cherished figure at the sanctuary. Her legacy endures through the Sandra Protocol, an initiative that has transformed wildlife care practices across North America. Visitors to the Blue Pine Wildlife Sanctuary now find a beautiful bronze statue of Sandra with her 2 cubs, a touching reminder that love knows no boundaries. How will this legacy continue to inspire future generations? Every now and then, researchers and wildlife photographers still catch sight of Leo and Zuri playing near their old home, a lasting testament to the unlikely and wonderful start they had. Their story, born of extraordinary compassion and a dog's unyielding love, reminds us that sometimes the best solutions to hard problems come from opening our hearts. In a world that often seems torn apart by differences, this tale shows that family is defined not by species, but by the simple act of caring with all your heart. Could it be that in the midst of nature's toughest challenges, love truly finds a way?